ago, and I opted out of surgery. I decided that I didn't want to go through that rehab, and instead I've rehabbed it on my own and with a lot of prayer. Yes. Give it up. And I believe in the power of diet and nutrition and exercise to rehab torn ligaments and joints. So I want to just frame up for people that surgery is not always the answer. And number two, I turned 53 this year, and I want to show women that the media might give up on us, but we don't give up on us.
Exactly. Exactly.
We're channeling those J-Lo vibes right now. If she can get on stage and do what she does at the same age as me, then I'm going to do it. And so if you can dig deep into that and get some motivation, we can all show the world that it's not how they define us, it's how we define ourselves. Exactly.
That's interesting, because any injury in the human body, you have to put back in the raw materials to heal. And there's all types of alternative situations where you don't have to resort to surgery. And I'll leave the link in my YouTube channel for this video when it does get put up. There is actually online natural rehab companies that actually do that, and they do advocate collagen and precise nutrition regimens to heal joints, ligaments, tendons, cartilage, all that stuff.
Well, so, and going into training, I've been working with my trainer now just for 2 weeks. And prior to that, I was just doing all my own training. He pushes me hard, and I was a little bit worried about my knee, but what I found is the strength training is actually going to help my knee get stronger in the long run.
Exactly.
And I think we get real worried. We kind of avoid strength training, especially women. Women become cardio bunnies a lot, and I want to encourage the ladies out there, don't be scared of resistance training. As we age, it's so important to help prevent bone loss, to keep your core strength tight, to burn fat more efficiently. I mean, if you're building muscle, you are burning fat so much more efficiently than carrying fat. And by the way, before I go on, I want to just say something. I went to the doctor last month for a checkup, and they checked my body fat. Guess what? They told me that in the age range of 50 and over, that an acceptable body fat range for women is 23 to 30%. Guys, that's not acceptable. Yeah. And I am not fat shaming here. I'm saying that puts us at risk for cardiovascular disease. It puts us at risk for diabetes. It puts us at risk for a whole myriad of different syndromes that are not acceptable. I don't care what age you are. Don't let the standards of the sad American diet dictate your truth.
That's the thing too.
That's going to get me fired up today.
Real quick, before we jump into this meal prep, it's funny because yes, 90% of American females have about 25% body fat. And it's like you said, it's because of the standards that are put upon us, and then we just live out our life according to those standards. But like you said about the resistance training, you can add, augment your body's skeletal system by doing resistance training, because resistance training increases bone density, and women have about 25% less bone density than men already. So resistance training does strengthen tendons, ligaments, and bones. And there's no argument that it's been proven. It's just whether you have the volition, the dedication to get up and go and do the resistance training. And the foods that we're going to discuss today actually help.
We're going to talk about, I want to just frame up for everybody. Today, we're really talking about the nutrition behind competition prep. And by the way, it's not just for competition prep, it's for any athlete or anybody that wants to just build better muscle tone, reduce body fat, and get stronger. And I think we could all use a little bit of that, especially on the heels of coming out of a pandemic. So I have a few questions for you, Manny. Let's just kind of get started, because we frame this up as the do's and don'ts of competition prep. Can we talk about the don'ts. Let's start with the don'ts. Because I think, people kind of get in their mind clean eating. Okay, if you're eating close to the source, that means clean. But there's still some don'ts when you're competition prepping, because we're all about creating lean muscle mass, definition, but without necessarily bulking, especially for women. So I want to frame that up. What are the don'ts, the things that we should avoid?
All right. As we get started, I just wanted everyone to know there's no capping going on here. I'm a champion bodybuilder. This is one of my trophies. And this stuff, the information I'm talking about, is the stuff that I utilize in my meal prep. So one of the main things is, a lot of people like it, you don't want to consume dairy if you're in a serious competition and you're trying to present the best physique with low body fat. Because what dairy does is, even if it's organic, even if it's grass-fed, dairy not only builds up mucus in the body, but it puts a thin layer of bliss or fat below the skin, even if it's hormone free, because milk has lactose in it. Even lactate is not good, because the entire consistency of it puts a thin layer of fat below the skin. And subcutaneous.
Okay, I have a question about, what about whey protein?
That's the thing. Whey protein and casein are derivatives of dairy. Okay. Now there's some bodybuilders and figure and wellness competitors that do take whey protein shakes with water, but it's still a milk derivative. So what I do is I take collagen protein if I'm taking a protein supplementation within my regular meals, because there's no whey in it. Not only is it good for my muscles, it's also good for my tendons. And collagen or hemp seed protein, those types of proteins are much better in contest prep.
I want to show you a couple of proteins that I use. I use Garden of Life products. I'm a big fan. I've been using them for almost a decade. This one I have in my oatmeal. I mixed into my oatmeal. It's got turmeric and it tastes like apple cinnamon. So that's really supportive for joint mobility, especially as you're training harder. You want your joints to recover faster, not get locked up. I also put this one in my coffee. This is collagen creamer. This is how I start my day. And I put a scoop. It's got MCTs and probiotics in it too. And I cannot tell you enough how these products have played such a huge role in my recovery and strength building. The
product, the capsule, the bottle, the can on the left with the orange label, I actually had that exact same flavor. And it's very good. Yes, I actually had that exact same one.
I have and it oatmeal.
There's the thing is, you can put it whatever consistency you want and mix it with various foods. It doesn't just have to be for smoothies. Now with creamers, if you're a coffee person, you can do the coffee, like if you're 12 weeks out, one cup of coffee in a day. But I would say after 4 weeks in the morning, cut the coffee out, cut the creamer out. But that's a good substitute for to replace regular creamer with. Anything with turmeric in it like that, and enzymes. But collagen is so essential, because as you contest prep, you're lowering your body fat. You're slowly, safely lowering your hydration. Your tendons and ligaments are more susceptible if you're a heavy trainer. So with collagen, you're helping to fortify your ligaments, your tendons, and your bones while you get contest prep into that mode, into that ultimate physique that you want to display on stage. So it's very important.
So you said dairy is a don't. What other categories are big don't?
All right, some other foods that are normally known as healthy foods. Citrus fruits are very healthy, but they're counterproductive for attaining that that shredded lean look, because the glucose and the fructose, whatever sugars, even if you're drinking any kind of items with high fructose corn syrup, even if it has diet on it, they put a thin layer of fat and water below the skin. So for contest prep, most bodybuilders, figure competitors, wellness competitors, they eat fruits, but they eat bananas, avocados, things like that, that are loaded with potassium. Excuse me?
What about grapefruit? I've seen some contest prep meal plans with like half a grapefruit. What do you think about that?
That I would do like 4 weeks. The first 4 weeks into it, but definitely you don't want to do that on your last 8 weeks because it's still a citrus fruit, and citrus fruits with bodybuilders and wellness and figure competitors is avoided. There's other sources of vitamin C. You know, you can also supplementation is very important too. You know, supplementation while you're diet contest prepping because you want to get a good multivitamin that's fermented. Fermented multivitamins and vitamins don't have soy and a lot of other fillers that traditional vitamins have. And fermented means they're readily absorbed into the body immediately, just like fermented foods, kefir, sauerkraut, stuff like that.
Okay, so we're avoiding dairy. We're avoiding citrus for the most part, maybe like 4 weeks out before you could do a little grapefruit. Grapefruit is not as sweet as oranges, for example.
Right, exactly.
You can do lemon juice, right? I mean, lemon juice isn't as astringent.
Lemon juice in the morning with water. With water, yes.
Yeah.
In the morning, early in the morning.
Okay. So you can do lemon. What other categories do we want to avoid?
Pretty much all processed boxed food, not whole foods. Now you got your gluten macaroni and pasta products. You have your packaged food products with all types of fillers and additives and seasonings and stuff like that. So you want to remain as close to a whole food diet as possible. That means you want to get your, here's an example. If you guys can see this, this is jasmine rice, okay, and broccoli, okay. And I made this in another example. We got Brussels sprouts and salmon, okay. Whole foods is what your body is craves, and that's what it's going to facilitate, and it's what it's going to take in, absorb, and utilize. And when you don't have excess salt, you don't have excess sugar, you don't have excess fillers, you don't have to worry about putting on a layer of a subcutaneous water.
Yeah, I want to show you guys too. This, like, you can still get food in a package, just make sure you're looking at the ingredient label. Like, these organic oats are like my staple. I have oatmeal at least 5 times a week, maybe more. But I'm not buying the ones that are pre-flavored and with sugar added. You know, you can add a scoop of your protein powder into here, and then you've got flavor.
Absolutely.
But trying to get foods in their most natural state. I also sometimes like to buy the sprouted ones, but I like to get the organic ones because they're non-GMO, and then I know they're like the cleanest source.
Also, that's correct. That's why I said try to avoid processed packaged foods. Like you said, that oatmeal is a great option. And I myself eat this a lot. Organic, steel cut, or like you said, sprouted is awesome. Yeah. And these are not processed. So you cook them, you add a little bit of whatever you want, honey, organic raw honey, you know, stevia. If you got the agave, you want to put a little bit of that in there. So it's all types of alternatives you can use to sweeten it up without sugar.
I have become like a big fan of baked oatmeal, and I have a couple recipes on my grid. If you guys want to go back into the archives and check that out, I'm actually going to be doing one today too that's got chocolate protein in it. That's like dessert when you bake it. And it's literally like eating a brownie. So if you are, you know, kind of like sick of oatmeal, don't stop, because there's a million and one ways to use it. And absolutely. I think that's such a great core food because it's also good for heart health. It's full of fiber. And by the way, Manny, I just want to tell everyone, I know that you and I are on the same page with this. Please don't think that just because you're eating a carbohydrate that that's the devil. Like we need slow burning carbohydrates that don't spike our blood sugar.
Absolutely.
That keep us feeling and that is a very important part of overall health, whether you're training for a competition or not. I think people get the word carb stuck in their head and they're like, ooh, carb is evil. And you need carbs to actually burn fat.
It's so crazy you said that, because when this whole Atkins diet thing came out, it became demonized. Carbs were demonized. And the thing is, you need carbs. Without carbohydrates, you would die. Your body needs carbohydrates for over 300 bodily functions that they need that energy for. And even if you're contest prepping in a contest prep diet, You can even have a cheat meal that's a carb because you're in a caloric
Yeah.
deficit. So if I eat clean all day and I have a piece of sweet potato pie and I'm contest prepping,
Hmm.
the day after with my normal training, I'm going to burn that off. 90% of it is sweet
Hmm.
potatoes, but the sugar in that is going to be burned off. You can eat a cheat snack in a meal prep diet because you're in a caloric deficit and your body is in anaerobic state. So yes, and as far
Yeah.
as like you said, sweet potatoes, jasmine rice, brown rice,
Sweet.
all yes, red potatoes, even white potatoes. We'll get into carb loading in a little bit. There's certain potatoes that you want to eat towards the end of your prep too. So carbs are
Yeah.
very essential for maintaining muscle fullness and not losing too much muscle. Because when you have a certain amount of carbs, enough carbs in your body, it doesn't let your body eat away at the protein. And the carbs provide the energy so that the energy can be drawn from the carbs and not start eating off your body protein, your muscles.
Yeah. It's such a science, isn't it, Manny? Like I mean, this is not just like you get on stage and you look good and you like, there is such a science to building muscle and putting your body into a place where it's supported energy wise, but you still like are shredded, you know?
Yes, you have to put yourself in a mind state that this culmination of this is for one day. So this is a
Yeah.
temporary, look, a temporary situation. But it's like you're Picasso, you're painting a picture, you're carving, etching a sculpture, and you got to add or take away what's needed to get to that finalized result, that masterpiece. So you might have to add a little bit
Yeah.
more sodium. Some people, all the people's metabolism is not the same. Some people may be able to get away with eating a little bit more, carbs than others. And some people may need more protein as others. You have to fine tune like what your body needs and requires and adjust. So yes,
I want to show you something. So, I mean, I'm at about 14% body fat right now. Okay. I have 11 weeks to get ready for my contest, and I need to drop about 4% body fat. Now, a lot of people, I'm backing up because I want you to see my goal. This is where women my age tend to hold a lot of fat.
yes.
But this is all diet right here. So it's one thing to say I'm going to go crush it in the gym, I'm going to work out and do all, but there is no physical way that you can actually do the work only in the gym and eat like crap.
Abs, abs are built in the kitchen. That's an old adage. The thing is, you need both. You have to get the resistance training in, which triggers your metabolism. Then after your resistance training, you do your 15 minutes or a half hour cardio. No 1 hour, that's far too much. And then combine with that, what you eat in the kitchen. Many people even do their cardio, if they do it before the resistance training, they do a fasted cardio. They do fasted cardio for 15, and that will actually help bring in those abs. And then, like I said, it's the omission of certain foods that usually put that layer of fat or water across your abs. And it's the addition of certain foods, certain proteins that help bring those out with training.
Oh, let's talk about that because we named off, and there's so much more to learn, and we'll continue talking about this. But 3 categories that you talked about that we're going to avoid. We're going to avoid dairy. We're going to avoid
Citrus fruits.
avoid packaged processed foods. What are 3 things that we need to focus on?
One of the most important things is protein. Like I said, not just your collagen protein, but even in contest prep, lean choices of sirloin, preferably grass-fed, bison, and even Wagyu beef. Wagyu, Japanese cattle. So illegal to put hormones in that cattle. There's the cleanest beef on earth, Wagyu cattle.
And there is, by the way, I cooked and I grilled an American Wagyu tri-tip roast yesterday. Look at my story. It was my husband's birthday, so he picked out the meat and I grilled, but it is really lean. And even though Wagyu, you think of fat, it's actually a really lean cut, and
yes.
It's beautiful. It's so good.
I'm glad you said that because even apart from grass-fed American beef, Wagyu beef has higher contents of omega-3s actually, and healthy, healthy saturated fats. Actually has higher than any other American cattle.
And this is something that I talk about in my book, Eat Like You Give a Fork. And it's part of my ethos is if you're going to eat meat, make sure it is sustainably raised, grass-fed preferably, because the higher up the food chain you go, the more important it is that the animal is eating what nature intended, so it doesn't cause inflammation in your body. When people present research and data and they say meat's not good for you, oftentimes it's because the meat is factory farmed, number one, or people are eating too much of it in disproportion to, fruits and vegetables and good, clean carbs. They're eating too much sugar. So you can't really look at it in isolation. It's in the grand scheme of things.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm going to try to put these two things together. You need to eat organic. Obviously, just like wild caught salmon is great for bodybuilding prep for your protein sources. But the thing is, a lot of the meat studies and beef studies are tainted because there's a lot of other factors that they're not bringing up in the studies. Like a lot of those people were smokers. A lot of them were previously already overweight. A lot of them were very immobile. They were not active. And a lot of them already had high blood pressure or whatever. And then when they did quit meat eating and they adjusted or adopted a more whole foods, organic, vegetarian diet, they stopped all the other bad habits that they were doing while they were eating carnivore and veggie diet. So a lot of the studies are like, they're not precise. So like you said,
they're real. And it's dizzying, to be honest, because you'll follow a certain doctor and they'll say, don't eat meat. And then you'll follow another doctor and they're like, eat meat. So which one is it? I think you have to use your own logic and understand that if something is eaten in proportion, number one, number two, it's a clean source, and number three, lifestyle is all supporting that. Like it makes sense that you could eat it.
You got to go back to this, Mareya. Right now, there are lawsuits and civil suits going on for people that were harmed with cancerous products, cancerous consumer chemicals that were in talcum baby powder and pesticides and herbicides that was in vegetation and crops. They're being awarded monies. So you have to look at what our meats and vegetables were like before the whole industrialization period. Hunter-gatherers, 50 years ago, we didn't have these hormones in our meats. We didn't have these pesticides and herbicides in our vegetables. So the key is to get the most amount of whole food nutrients in your body to sustain your body while you're prepping. And to do that, you want to be grass-fed, like you said, the leanest cuts. You're doing sirloin, not stuff with fat riddled to it. You're doing salmon, mackerel, sardines, wild caught, whenever possible, because those foods, just like the grass-fed and the bison, is going to be 10 times more nutrient dense than processed than meats that are not wild caught or not, grass-fed. You can actually look this up. They have far more nutrient density than foods that are, processed and that are not organic.
Yeah, and I think oftentimes people forget that meat, beef is a great source of omega-3s when the animal is eating what nature intended. Now, in terms of protein, let's talk about guidelines for how many grams of protein that you should be getting, because I think that there's some discrepancy that I've seen here. What is the rule of thumb if you're trying to build muscle and lean out? How many grams of protein should you be eating a day?
This is tricky because this is different
for men and women.
Yeah, this is different for everybody. And as you get closer to your contest date, more and more people are eating whole foods and doing away completely with the protein powder. So they go by ounces. Like I'll have a 4-ounce piece of sirloin or 7-ounce piece of salmon. I'm about 220 pounds right now, maybe 215. So I'm eating a 10-ounce salmon, okay, with maybe a half a cup of rice and a half a cup of broccoli for one meal, okay? That's an example of one meal. So per body weight. Some
But
people,
how many grams total for the day is your goal?
they try to dissect it into whatever your body weight is, divided into, like, for me, for a 200-pound male, some people in contest prep to maintain a muscle, 150
Yeah.
grams or 200 grams of a protein.
Okay, so almost 1-for-1.
1.5 grams of protein per body weight. I've seen that figure for men and women. Because women,
Okay. Oh,
yes, women are a lot of times are lower in body weight than men. 1.5 grams per pound for body weight. So that's the norm, and it usually people just keep that on up to the contest date until like the last 2 weeks. You know.
yeah. So for me, I'm 103 pounds. I'm trying to get about 100 grams a day, and it's real hard for me to do that with food.
Yeah.
So I am supplementing with protein. And so you're saying as we get closer to actual competition day that I need to eat more?
I would keep that the same until the last 2 weeks. 1.5 pounds,
Yeah.
1.5 grams per body weight until the last 2 weeks. And also another important thing is hydration. Hydration, because as you don't want to be water filled, you still need a little bit of sodium. You don't want to be, having, too much. I don't know, some people are taking diuretics, but you don't want to pull all the sodium and the fluids out of your body. You want to do it
Yeah.
gradually and still have enough where you're not fainting on stage, because that's a very common occurrence in competing. These are bodybuilding, wellness, and figure competitions. Sodium is so low, potassium goes so low, you don't have enough fluid in your body. So you still want to drink water.
Well, what we're going to talk about that as we get closer to game day for me. But so protein's super important. Number one thing to think about. Number two, what category of foods do we need to make sure we focus on?
Carbohydrates. You need them. You need your sweet potatoes. You need your oatmeals, and carb loading. Like 1 week or 2 weeks before the show, you're eating white rice, white potatoes to fill out. But even throughout the whole process of the 12 weeks,
should I be eating white rice or brown rice, or does it matter?
Both. Right now, you can eat. What I typically did was eat white rice with my veggies the first 4 weeks, going on a 12-week prep. The next 4, the last 4 of the 8, I would convert to brown rice, maybe even 6. So the last 2 weeks, I'll go back to white rice, gradually mix with my veggies. And the last week, I would add some white potatoes to that white rice for carb loading. So
yeah,
white rice, brown, white.
There is a big difference between what is perceived as clean eating, just strictly clean eating, and contest prep. Because normally I would say avoid white rice because it's more processed. Obviously, oftentimes it's bleached. But you're saying the white rice is okay. Why is that? Is it because it's easy to digest?
Okay, now check this out. Yep. White rice is extremely easy to digest. And jasmine rice, we got organic jasmine rice. They've removed anything that's, unhealthy about it pretty much. And it's not as nutrient dense as brown rice, but it's still nutrient dense. And white rice helps you maintain muscle fullness along with the minerals that it has. And that's so important, not let alone energy is what you need. So brown rice has a lot more fiber, okay? But when you're training and you're trying to hold on to muscle, at least the next 8 weeks before the last 4 weeks, you'll be eating, white rice, unless you want to do brown or white 4 weeks and then brown the next. But white rice is very influential in maintaining muscle fullness and not looking flat. You will appear flat on stage if your muscles are not filled out that last week or last 2 weeks. And that's the purpose of white potatoes and white rice.
Yeah, that is something that we have introduced here. We're eating more white potatoes and white rice, which is something that I'm not used to, honestly. Like, I've just been in the mindset of, and I write about it in my book, like eating more like the darker colors. But contest prep is a little bit different. So,
yes,
and
yes,
I will say, with white rice, there is something that I've been doing for years is after I wash my rice, I wash it really well because oftentimes it's got chemicals and other things on it. Wash it really well, but save the water and you can spray it in your hair. It's actually really good at helping to build protein in your hair. So it's funny how, like, you don't think about the rice as a protein source, but it actually is for, you know, especially for other things like your hair. Which is great.
Now, see, that's an awesome food hack. I'm actually going to make a YouTube video about food kitchen hack. That's awesome. But
yeah,
yes,
all the food in your beauty regimen. Okay, so we want carbs. We want to eat good protein. We have minutes left, Manny. We got to wrap it up.
real quick. I want to say real quick. I want to say, along with those other two, healthy fats. We don't have to elaborate on this, but avocados, olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, healthy fats. Eat avocados with your breakfast with free-range eggs or whatever. Healthy fats are important for contest prep. All right.
By the way, I have to. These eggs are from my friend's chickens. She has 10 chickens, and they lay an egg a day or so. And so she's got these beautiful eggs that I hard boil, and then you can throw them in salads or have them in the morning, whatever. But look at all the colorful shells. Isn't that cool?
Right. Real quick, if you have your products available, let's see some of your products, just a couple bottles, and I'll post that on the YouTube channel too when I upload this to YouTube. Just tell them briefly what foods it cleans.
Created these products so that you could cleanse your fruits and vegetables, make them ready to eat. And these are a staple, obviously, in our house because we created them. But I will tell you that for contest prep, this is indispensable because you can wash everything all at once. We've always got like cucumbers and celery and stuff to snack on. Wash all of our greens, potatoes, even use this to clean my rice, by the way. And rice has a lot of arsenic and other chemicals on it when it's grown. And so that helps. And I just make a bath and wash everything all at once. And you can see we make these really cool little mesh bags, and you can soak your produce or your grains or your beans or whatever you're washing in the Eat Cleaner, and then I air dry these and just store them in the fridge. So when I go to grab my spinach, it's already washed, and then I can throw that into a salad or saute it up with some eggs or whatever, and it's all ready to go. So that is like, I think that's a great hack because then, you know, you go to the fridge and you've got everything already. I mean, I washed the celery a half ago, so it's still perfectly crisp.
It's very vibrant green. Yeah. So for the people that are on the other platforms, YouTube, let them know where can you be reached, the name of your website, and your other links.
Well, they know where to find me, Manny. They're on my channel. How about you share yours?
This is for YouTube. Oh. So tell people.
On eatcleaner.com, you'll find all of our products, my book, and information on eating cleaner every day.
Yes, Michelle is an amazing chef that I came into contact with, and she has amazing knowledge on food and some awesome recipes. But I intend on trying out myself. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Manny. Mannys Fitness Fortress on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and we upload workout videos, meal prep, fitness, and nutrition content. So bodybuilding is my first love, but wellness and fitness is my overall passion. And nutrition combined with fitness is what I'm interested in, and that's what I advocate on my channel.
That's awesome. So, guys, thank you for joining us today. I promised I would give one person some Eat Cleaner product. I want you to DM me after we're done today DM me. The first person to DM me and tell me why they want Eat Cleaner, I will send you a bottle of our product to try out. So make sure you're the first one to DM me if you're watching live and let me know why you want to use our Eat Cleaner. I'm going to tell you it's a game changer, because getting all your fruits and vegetables prepped and ready to go, especially your green vegetables, okay, those are going to be the cornerstone of any healthy diet. They are the #1 most nutrient dense foods on the planet, and they are also the #1 cause of foodborne illness. So if you don't wash them right, they can make you sick, especially if you're not cooking them. So you want to make sure that they're really clean, and water is not really a cleaner. So we got to use something other than water.
Don't get me started. Over 50 different contaminants in tap water. Don't even get me started.
Yeah, and over 50 different pesticides used in apple growing. So like, that stuff is sitting on your food. You don't want to eat that. By the way, pesticides are obesogens. They'll actually prevent you from losing body fat. So if you're drinking a lot of diet soda or chemicals, or you're eating foods that are contaminated, guess what? It's going to be harder to lose body fat. I've seen this time and time again where people are like, I can't lose body fat. And I'm like, what are you eating? What are you drinking? Diet soda. And I'm like, you got to cut the you got to like cut chemicals, because it seems counterintuitive, but the chemicals, your body doesn't know how to process them. So they just sit in your fatty tissue, and your body doesn't know how to get rid of them. So it's important to eliminate those. But Manny, thank you for being on with me this morning. Thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you for having me.
I know people will get a lot more information by following your YouTube channel. You've got a lot of great videos. Mannys Fitness Fortress, and also follow Manny on Instagram, TikTok, and all the other channels he's active on.
Thank you so much for having me. All right, guys.
Have a great day. Be sure to DM me.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me.